Deposit Crusaders.
Yeah.
Long time ago. Dad, he was a Deposit Crusader, wasn't he? Many years ago.
Yeah.
Hi, Gail.
And you're welcome.
I'm so glad you remembered me. Why wouldn't I remember you? You're my family. Hi. Oh, I love you. Thank you. It's a gift. You're coming. Oh, Cousin Susan.
Are you there, baby? I am. I was letting
Hi.
you out.
Hi, Cousin Susan.
Hi there.
Hi. I already do. She made her cousin very well known. And you'll hear her telling you things. I already do. I have it in my purse. Yeah, and she told me to spend my money on nice things.
I firmly believe in that.
Thank you for that. Hi, Nancy. Yeah, I lost some hard days. Thanks for coming. Thank you for coming. Okay, well, means a lot that you came. Nosy over there. It's also really cool out.
Hello there. I'm good, thanks. How are you? Okay. Mom, this is Nancy Katz. Nancy, this is my mom, Gail Pitchler. Not here, but at the coffee place. Yes. I'm sorry. Could you help me with my coat? My shoulders. You're welcome.
Okay, here, Josh is on the edge. Before you get the next one.
Be surrounded by your
Friends, make sure your phones are on silent or off, please.
Thank you all for joining, coming out in this weather. We'll start with part of the service, which pray in memory of the soul, pray to connect to the soul, because that is the language today where Natalie and all those that pass, that is the language of their communication with God, is prayer. We'll start with chapter number 121. Do it in Hebrew and then in English. Shir lamalois esainai el harim me'ayin yavo Ezri Ezri me'im Adonai oisei shamayim v'aretz ayitein lamoit raglecha al yonum shemrecha Hine lo yonum v'lo yishon shomer Yisrael Adonai shemrecha Adonai tzilcha al yad yeminecha Yoim Hashemesh lo yakeka v'yareach baloila Adonai yishmorcha mikara yishmor es nafshecha Adonai yishmor tzeischa uvayecha me'ato v'yad olam. English. A song of ascents. I lift my eyes to the mountains. From where will my help come? My help will come from the Lord, maker of heaven and earth. He will not let your foot falter. Your guardian does not slumber. Indeed, the guardian of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. The Lord is your guardian. The Lord is your protective shade at your right hand. The sun will not harm you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will guard you from all evil. He will guard your soul. The Lord will guard your going and your coming from now and for all time. We'll do chapter 23, and you've heard this before. Mizmor leDavid, Adonai roi lo yechzor, b'neis deshe yarbitzeni, al mei menuchos yenahaleni, nafshi yeshovev, yancheni v'maglei tzedek, leman shemoi, gam ekiyeh lech begeit salmoves, lo yirara ki ata imadi. Shiftecha mishantecha, heima yenachamuni, tarich lefonai, shulchan neged tzeirerai, dishanta bashemen, roishi koisi revoya, ach toiva chesed yirdefuni kol yemei chayoi, v'shafti beveis Adonai, le'oirech yamim. English, you can say it along. A psalm by David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall lack. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He revives my soul. He directs me in the paths of righteousness for the sake of his name. Even if I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they will comfort me. You will prepare a table before my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil, my cup is full. Only goodness and kindness shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord for many long years. I said before, thank you. Thank you all for joining in this beautiful weather. It's hard to say goodbye. It's hard to say goodbye when there's so much love invested in a bond that is so strong between Natalie and between her family. While some would say that 87 years is a pretty good life, right? We all pray for long life. It was a fruitful life, but nevertheless, it's never long enough from the perspective of an interwoven heart, a deep appreciation that each of you gave to each other, and for that, it's never too long. And so while it's hard to say goodbye, we're here to say goodbye. That's the way of the world, and that is the cycle of life. To convey respect and appreciation in some small way by being here together. But this is only the beginning. The real respect and appreciation that we have for the soul is a lifetime of living based on the values, based on the love, based on the traditions that they have worked all their life to convey to their family. So we're just paying a little bit of dividend today, but that has to continue throughout a lifetime. You know, everything happens for a reason. I know when Ted passed away, they joked about kind of, it had to happen on the coldest day of the year, right? That was Ted. Actually, let me digress for a minute. Talking about Ted, anybody that observed the relationship between Ted and Natalie know that Ted was very lucky. We don't expect these things to happen in life, but Ted, when I would look at Ted and Natalie, you were able to see that they weren't equal, right? I don't just mean in height. It's true that for Ted and Natalie to see eye to eye, Ted had to look down. But he really married up. For Natalie to step up this way in midlife in such an unexpected way is something that, Judaism teaches us that there's one thing more important than dying in service. You know what that is? Living in service. Living in service is a day-to-day sacrifice, doing things that you didn't expect to do. They came on, and now we live in service. And Natalie lived in service every single day of her life. So back to the weather. Ted's funeral was on the coldest day of the year, and now Natalie's. I heard the family say, Lisa and Gwen were saying that that Natalie would get her hair done. Right? She got it done. Well, I feel like the weather is telling us that Natalie would never be outdone. And if Ted had it at the coldest day of the year, Natalie was going to have it on the coldest day of the year as well. But I think there's a deeper meaning to this. Family asked me to kind of, it's very important to choose the right rabbi. When it's really cold outside, it makes a difference. Those who were at Ted's service know exactly what I'm talking about. But I think there's a message here. The message is that grieving is important. In Judaism, grieving is very important. It's a value of connection, of concern, of empathy. But life has to be moved on as well. And perhaps Natalie is telling us, grieve, but make it quick. There's a lot to be lived in life, and that's the greatest tribute you can give to her, is living that way. Living in a way where life moves on, and we cherish every moment to make the best of it and to keep it happy and vibrant. While she can place a message in your lunchbox today, Gwen, she is reminding us in this weather that life does move on, and seize every moment to make it meaningful. Natalie was an incredible wife. Very few people can hold a candle to her. She gave it all she got to take care of Ted and to support him in every way possible so he can live a life happy under those dire circumstances. But then comes her parenting prowess. I often say that the essence of parenthood, what does it mean to be a good parent? When do you know that you got your parenthood right? It's a tough question. But I say that The essence of parenthood is our children knowing that they are the apple of our eye. If we get that right, we know that our parenthood was successful. It is crystal clear as her beautiful crystal eyes, that Natalie's children knew that they were the apple of her eye. You know, when we sat down yesterday to talk, and kind of was a little casual, and who's going to talk, and I just said, just talk. Just nothing prepared, just talk. And the first words that came out of Lisa's mouth were 3 words. We felt loved. Wow. Both Lisa and Gwen spoke about how absolutely incredibly loved they felt. She was present at all your events, Lisa. No matter the changing interests you had, her interests never changed. Her interests were you. And that stayed a constant. The daily messages in your lunch bag, Gwen, was more than a message to me. I think she was sending you a contract. It was a contract of love, made up of consistent, continuous affirmations. Today is the 20th day of the Hebrew month of Tevet. In the Jewish calendar, today is a very special day. It is the Yartzeit, it is the annual passing of one of the greatest Jewish sages of all time, Maimonides. He passed away, actually, 820 years ago to the date. Okay? Based on the Lubavitcher Rebbe's instructions, we traditionally study 3 chapters of his work every single day. So I'm really attached to Maimonides. Every day, without fail, I study 3 chapters of his Code of Jewish Law. And Maimonides writes about character building. You know, Maimonides writes about all Jewish law, but part of Jewish law and tradition is also about building character. And he writes like this. He writes that character is taking the middle path, not to be extreme in either direction. Too cheap, too giving, right? Not to be extreme in either direction. Well, Natalie was in fact extreme in many ways, but that was okay because the extremes balanced themselves out, and that's also okay. She was extremely giving, yet extremely non-judgmental. Those balanced themselves out. She was extremely dependable, but yet extremely non-overbearing. Those are extremes that balance themselves out. She was extremely smart, funny, and beautiful, yet extremely empathetic towards others. Almost too much, in your words. So I guess extremes can be healthy at times when those extreme traits don't impose on others. So to summarize, she was extremely good. And you were extremely lucky and fortunate to have her as your mom and your, what was it called, Gramsy? Did I see that?
Yes.
Your Gramsy. How did that name come, Gramsy? She chose it. I'm not surprised. Her love definitely seamlessly extended to her grandchildren. Nathan, Max, Talia, to Lily. She invested a lot of love in you. She was fiercely devoted to each of your success. She always offered and went the extra mile for you, literally. You each talked so beautifully about the special relationships you had with Gramsy. She took an interest in the details of your life and always encouraged you on the path that you chose. That's a great quality. She was a model. I guess she could have modeled, but she was a good role model for the good values that you each can incorporate in your lives, knowing wrong from right, living a meaningful life, going beyond focusing on ourselves, and seeing the life of others and the needs of others. In addition to loving her children, Natalie had a great appreciation for her in-laws. Her son-in-law, Rob, you were very special to her. I would see how you would come to Friendship Circle events, and I just saw there was a lot of dedication between you. I would say an unusual amount of dedication. It was a very strong bond. To her sister-in-law, Joy, I know you had a very special relationship with her, and it went both ways. You were a big part of her life. There are some people that are in the law and some people outlawed. Jeff, you're a good guy. You had to be a good guy because she approved of you, and she spoke her mind, and I overheard that she would speak about you behind your back, and it was all good. So that's really an affirmation that you're in the law. You were good. One more quote from Maimonides. Maimonides teaches us about joy and says that the ultimate time of joy, there are periods of time where God gives us opportunities to be joyful. What are those? Holidays. Holidays are times to they're traveling times where we stop, we fill up with joy, and then we move on for the year. And we use that joy to inspire us throughout the year. Maimonides says that, how do you experience true joy during a holiday? Here's what he says. Eating good food is a very important part of being joyful. And Natalie knew how to cook good food on holidays, right? Lily, the brisket? You approve? Okay. So we have that said. But Maimonides goes on and he says something very interesting. Here's what he says. However, if you only think of your own family's food needs, that is called rejoicing on your intestines. Real joy means including others who are in need of food. I was struck by the fact that Natalie was both extremely good cook, but one of the sensitivities she had in particular about others was she always was concerned that there were people in the world that were suffering from food insecurity. And she even expressed it. And she would help in the food pantry, in the food bank, and she donated to the food bank. She was someone who really experienced joy. Joy in being able to feed, eat well during the holiday, but also having that sensitivity that to really sense joyfulness, you have to appreciate that other people need that as well and share that. And she shared not just that, but she shared her talents. She shared her talents of being a teacher, and she went in and volunteered in her grandchildren's school for those children that were in need of extra support, tutoring, learning, because that's the talent she had and she gave back. She lived a meaningful life filled with loving her own and caring about others. Maimonides would give her a meaningful life certification. I can talk more and more, and the alternative is going outside, so not so bad. However, we have some meaningful things to hear from the family. I encourage the family, based on Jewish tradition, to continue telling stories. Stories is the way to convey the life of those that have departed, to make them real and to continue learning from their ways. Natalie was an angel, manifest in a beautiful body. Her spirit will live on through your memories, living a life inspired by her values. May her soul rest in peace. May she be bound in the bond of eternal life. Bila hamavis lanetzach omocha, Hashem elikim dimo me'al kalponim. May Hashem God banish all tears and sorrow and bring us the ultimate redemption speedily in our days. Who's speaking first? Gwen? Lisa? Okay. Lisa.
I'm going to bring
Please do.
Okay. Come here. Stand with me, guys. First of all, I just want to thank all of you for being here for us. We know it's really cold out, and it really means a lot. So I do need to say that. And also, I know some people are streaming, so thank you for taking the time to stream. I also want to thank in advance my husband, who's really jumped in to help us out, and Cats. They call them Cats. That's a whole other, not for a funeral story, but they really jumped in, so that me and my sister could mourn and deal with what we have to deal with. But anyway, I'm going to, because I'm worried I might break down. Talia is non-speaking, and yesterday was able to type something that I'm going to read for her. So I'm going to start with that. So the question posed was, do you feel it's important to say something? That was the first question, and Talia said, really important for me to say something. She typed this all independently. Then the next paragraph was, losing someone you love is never easy. We shared a bond that will never be broken. Anytime I feel sad, remembering you will of course make me smile. Everyone should know what kind of person you were. Kind, loving, caring, and you believed in me when some of the world did not. Thank you for giving me the best memories and your heart. You will always have my heart. Thank you, Talia. And then I'm going to go on to read my portion. Is that okay, Lily? Okay. If you believe in reincarnation, you may be familiar with the notion that we choose our parents before birth. If that's the case, I would like to think that I made the perfect choice. As my mom's health declined and my sister and I stepped up, and this is over the past year or two, as we stepped up to take more and more care of her, my mother would often say, I am the luckiest person in the world to have daughters like you. No one is as lucky as me. And we would say, it's because of you that we're lucky. You created us. You made us who we are. We're the lucky ones. And one of the last things my mom said, I said to her, Mom, we're so lucky. And she said, I'm the lucky one. That was in the hospital the other day. Some words about my mom. My mom was one of the most considerate people I've ever met. She made it clear every day she loved me, as the rabbi said. Every conversation, every email, every letter ended with, I love you. This locket I'm wearing has a picture of me and my sister when we were little girls, and we would ask her, why are you wearing that? And she'd say, because I always want you right by my heart. She always made us feel special. I always felt special. Every birthday was a celebration, every single year. And it was a different themed party, or we'd go out, slumber parties, whatever. My mom struggled with mental illness when she was probably a teenager and then young adult. And because she went through that, she made sure we always prioritized mental health. And I believe she was before her time in that area. She found great support by attending Recovery International support groups. And she often quoted what she learned through that support group. I remember hearing quite often, well, that's her average. Like I'd complain, oh, how come this, friend is doing this and this? That's their average. Meaning, that's, you should accept them. That's how they are. She always gave me really good advice and encouragement. I would often call her crying, about a boyfriend or different things. But I remember this, I was in college, and I had my first long-term boyfriend, and we broke up, and I was upset. And she sent me flowers, and the note said, look for the donut, not the hole. Another time, I remember the girls were little, and Lily cried a lot. Talia, I remember this one day, I was sitting in the living room, Lily was crying nonstop, and then Talia, hurt her finger in the door. And I called my mom. I'm like, I can't take it anymore. And she said, you need a spa day, and I'm paying for it. I used to get advice. I mean, when the kids were young, it was hard for me. And some of the advice I got was keep a gratitude journal. Now, when you've got two kids on IEPs, you're working full time, husband's working long hours, it's hard to feel grateful. So I can't say I kept a journal every day, but the few times I did, at the top of the list was my mom, of people to be grateful for. My mom was incredibly intelligent in both English and math, which, was an unusual combination. So she helped me a lot. I remember her meticulously redlining term papers, and I feel like I became a better writer because of what she taught me. She also helped me with math problems, algebra, complicated things. She taught me how to balance a checkbook. I remember sitting with her at the kitchen table. I was in tears over this, and she would we'd go line by line, and she would help me. She was smart financially, smart in the way she was not showy. It wasn't like I have to have a nice car or designer clothes. She was practical, didn't like to waste money. She thought going out to an expensive meal was a complete waste. And when she would go out with people who sent food back and complained, she'd say, I don't get these people. You'd think it's their last meal. My mom excelled at being a grandmother, though. Great mother, but oh my God, the devotion to the boys That's all she talked about. And then my girls who came later just loved it. And, you know, when Talia was born, I remember being in the hospital, and I was like, oh my God, like changing the diaper just completely stressed me out. My mom was there helping me. We were laughing, and sorry. And then my mom had a master's in early childhood development, and so she wanted to retire when Talia was little, and she said, I'm going to retire and take her 2 days a week. And she was all over the place. Like, they were at museums, at the zoo. I remember, like, my friends saying, God, we can't believe what your mom does. It's more than we can do. She took care of Talia, and then, you know, when Lily came, she took both kids, which that wasn't easy. You know, she'd take them overnight. She'd say, oh, you guys go out for your anniversary. I've got this. We've got this. She'd come and get them, so we didn't have to worry about getting them over there, and she would keep them for a weekend. You know, full days, museums, nature walks, running errands, and all that. And I think, you know, we're finding out how incredibly knowledgeable Talia is. Recently, we're finding out, and we do think that part of it is due to what my mom taught her, and all the reading, and the museums, and, you know, all the knowledge. And Lily, she, you know, special relationship with you too. Okay, my dad's death in 2022, right? Yeah, was really hard for my mom, but also in a way a blessing. I mean, we're going to be honest here. She was a caretaker. You know, my mom and I, when she was taking care of my dad, had an interesting bond in a way, because I was a caretaker, and my caretaking went on much longer than I had anticipated it would. And my mom also was a caretaker, so we would often, you know, talk about that, like, what are our techniques to take care of ourselves in this situation, you know, and she really helped me a lot. I think when my dad passed, she was very sad, but, you know, she could actually take a minute to not worry about someone else. I'm very grateful that I had time with my mom alone after that. That was 3 years that I was really able to focus on her, and we would always encourage her, you know, this is your time. You know, you take some time, you do what you want to do. And that was hard for her. You know, even when she was a young girl, I remember she told me she was often left to care for her brother. So she was a natural caretaker, but it's hard for caretakers to step back and take time. But I'm grateful that I spent extra time with her. And in closing, I'm just going to say that it's hard for me to talk about it. I'm really, really going to miss my mom. We were very close. She was someone I talked to every day. But she was always there for me, and I know she's still there for me, and I know I can rely on her just like I always did. Thank you. Will?
I just want to first start off by saying my grandmother constantly raised my mother with unconditional love. And because of the way my mother was raised in a household with unconditional love and constant I love yous and just the nonstop love, it led on to my mother. And I've always felt love since the day I was born. And as my mother was saying, I mean, God bless Talia, but I mean, a neurodivergent kid. I had severe ADHD growing up, and I still do. And just a mother who took the time to adjust to both of our temperaments, despite the differences we had, is absolutely incredible. And I thank my grandmother for that. My mother did it all, and I thank my grandmother. So my grandmother, who we all referred to as Gramsy, allowed Talia and I to grow with endless opportunities throughout our human development. And she provided us with those opportunities since we were born. She constantly applied her knowledge from early childhood education, whether I liked it or not, asking me math problems when we were at the grocery store, or she would come and volunteer at my elementary school and would take kids out who struggled in math like I did and would help us because, you know, an elementary school teacher at that time I was at Mercer Elementary School, and our classes had like 20 to 25 kids, and a teacher can't adjust everyone's learning needs. So my grandmother would come in and devote her time for free to students who needed help. She took my sister and I all over the place, the Children's Museum, the zoo, the aquarium, reading us stories, constantly allowing our knowledge to expand. I'm so honored to have been the grandchild that she could rely on for anything she needed when I would come home from college breaks. I felt beyond honored when she would give me a call asking for a ride to the beauty salon, which she really prioritized over any doctor's appointment. I mean, I would constantly tell her on the phone, Gramsy, if you need me to take you to a doctor's appointment, like the general practitioner or the heart doctor, just let me know. That's important. No. Nails and hair come first. Nails and hair come first. And I'm like, I'm your granddaughter, aren't I? Because, I thank her because I prioritize getting my nails done every 2 weeks. And just, I always counted on her, and she was always there. She always went out of her comfort zone to offer her support in the new situation. Like when I switched high schools, it was a very difficult transition, and she immediately jumped out of her comfort zone at that time as a caregiver for Papa Teddy. And she immediately was like, oh, how can I help with the carpool? Because you don't have your driver's license yet. And the fact that she was willing to do that and learn a whole new route to a new place means a lot. Not everyone has grandparents that will do that. I thank Gramsy daily for teaching me the importance of self-advocacy, perseverance, and asking for help when I need it, especially now as a college student. I'm currently finishing up my 4th year in occupational therapy. Some tough classes I had. A lot of my friends are afraid to ask for help because they feel stupid. I'm never afraid to ask for help because she was a teacher herself, and she said that students that stood out to her were the ones that went to her to ask for help and to advocate for themselves. That is something I will never fail to do because of my grandmother. I would not be where I am today if it weren't for her and the countless amount of love and support she provided my sister and I with. And I cannot describe how much I will miss her humor because she said whatever was on her mind. And I thank her for that once again because I say whatever on my mind, and you have to speak the truth. And just thank you, Gramsy, for doing that. And I'll just miss her warmth and her overall acceptance, and she treated any of my friends like they were one of her own grandkids. I will miss you so much, Gramsy, and thank you again for providing my mother with this unconditional love, because that got brought on to me, despite the challenges I provided my mother with the ADHD and everything. Just thank you, and God bless Gramsy. Thank you.
I'm going to do my best. Hang on. Where'd Lisa go? No, I'm good, thanks. So I wanted you here because I want to thank you first and foremost, because thank God for you. We did this together. We were in this together, and thank you, because I always knew, even though I was 2 hours away, that you were 10 minutes away, and that if I ever needed you to go check on her, or if we weren't going to call back, you were there, and you took care of everything for them, Lisa. So, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. From my big sister, I will forever be grateful. Second of all, there may be some profanity in my eulogy, and if that's going to offend you, you can leave the room. And I say that because my mom, taught me well. I'm going to try. I don't really like to read, but because I'm so jumbled right now, I'm probably going to do some reading instead of just talking, but hopefully I can talk too. On Friday night at 11 p.m., the unimaginable happened. I saw my mom take her last breath. My beloved mother, the woman who placed a note in my brown lunch bag every day I went to school when I was in elementary school. And Joy knows we had a pack at Mercer. There was no cafeterias. Every day she wrote me a note, every day, without fail, telling me how much she loved me. The woman who exposed my sister and me to as many possible educational opportunities that she could find. The woman who gave meaning to the art of tanning. The woman who recreated herself by going back to school to get her master's degree and found a job she loved, making a difference in the lives of preschoolers. The woman who studied as an adult to be part of the first group of adult B'nai Mitzvahs at Suburban Temple. Mom touched so many lives. She was always asking questions. Whether she knew you for 5 minutes or was reconnecting with you, she was going to find out about your life and how you were doing and everything that was relevant to you. She always cared more about everyone else other than herself. And, I mean, we have similar themes in what we're talking about here today, Lisa. Our mom struggled from anxiety when it was not fashionable, nor was it acceptable to talk about it. She called it a nervous disorder. I think maybe that's an old-fashioned term for what we now call anxiety. But she luckily found a group where she could go once a week to get support through Recovery International. Eventually, Mom became a local recovery leader, and to the very end, credits Recovery for helping her through the most difficult times in her life. And one of those times was when our mom became a caregiver for our dad when she was in her early 50s. The decades of caregiving that our mom put forth took its toll on her, yet she never wavered in putting our dad's care first before her own. After our dad passed 3 years ago, it was my turn to give to my mom what she had given to me. It took time. It took time because she was so conditioned to always being the planner. She was the one that was going to make the plans and do the caregiving. But she came around. She came around. And she started leaning on Lisa and I, and Rob, and on Katz. And in these past 2 years especially, we spent so much time together really listening to each other, sharing our thoughts, reminiscing about our relationships with others and with ourselves. She talked about her relationship with Dad. I talked about my relationship with the boy's dad and every other relationship I had. I talked about my relationship with Katz. We just talked about everything. We laid in bed together watching football and watching golf. But most importantly, we plotted on how to keep her from getting busted smoking again at Rose. After being warned time and again, and after Lisa and I were called down to the principal's office, we laughed so much about everyday stupid shit together. That's just what we did. And in fact, one of my mom's favorite phrases, and I apologize, Rabbi, was "fuck it," which endeared everyone to hear her. She said it all the time, "fuck it." And in fact, what just, I don't know, it strikes me the most was that in the hospital, sorry, Rob, in the hospital,
I've heard it before.
okay, you heard it from my mom many times. At the very end, when my mom knew, she knew it was her time. Her humor was there, her sassiness was there, and her nurse who stayed with us to the end, Allison, who was just an angel sent to us, asked her a question, "Natalie, do you want this?" And we were talking loud because she had oxygen. And you know what Mom said? "I don't fucking care." And it was from that moment on that Allison became our nurse, stayed over after her shift ended, fell in love with my mom in the 5 minutes that she met her, and was there when my mom took her last breath and cried with us when she was gone. Mom, I don't know what this world is like without you. You were my first phone call after I passed the bar exam. I'll never forget the scream you let out on the phone when I called you. You were the face that I most wanted to see when I came home from camp or college. When I got engaged, I called you from the payphone in the restaurant. Yes, we still had payphones at that time. Before I did anything else. All I ever wanted was to share my life with you, and I feel like I could do that. Thank you so much. When the kids were born, you were there. taking care of me so I could take care of the babies. When I needed you, you were there. You helped me navigate through one of the toughest times in my life with no judgment, no agenda, only unconditional love and support. You welcomed my partner, Katz, into your life and embraced him as a son-in-law. And for that, you formed a special bond with him that enriched both of your lives. I loved listening to your banter with her. There was no one better to have cocktails with than you. Vodka on the rocks, cigarettes, and sunshine. Life was so good. You spoiled Lisa and I with the best spa days and getaways. What were the three of us, Lisa? Lucky duckies. Mom, I don't know how to go forward without you. The gaping hole that is before me seems impossible to even think of navigating. But I will. I will, because that is what you would want for me. You would not want me to languish in sorrow, but to pick myself up and move forward. When I was at her apartment yesterday with Lisa and Talia and Nathan and Max, I found her recovery book, the book that I always used to see her carrying when she was leaving the house once a week to go to meetings. I always saw the book, but I didn't ask to read it. I never looked in it. But now I have, and I finally opened it, and I read the title, and it all clicked. And again, this is an older book. I mean, it's probably from the 1940s or 50s, but the title is Mental Health Through Will Training. Isn't that what we do? We train ourselves. We train our brain. We train our will. I mean, this book was before its time, but she was a lady ahead of her time. She worked daily to improve her mental health so she could be the best wife and mother she could be. And when I opened the book, I saw all of these handwritten notes from her in the cover. So I picked a few that she wrote that were her little mantras, little reminders, which spoke to me at this time. Brave, face, tolerate, endure. There is no limit to the amount of discomfort you can endure. Helplessness is not hopelessness. It's not how you feel, but how you function. Feelings are not facts. Feelings rise and fall. And finally, our health is most important. Mental health first. I'm doing my best, Mom, as I know you always did your entire life. And you nailed it. And I'm going to end just with a short conversation I had with my mom just a few weeks ago as we were driving to the famous hair salon. I don't know what possessed me because I'm not comfortable with these conversations. But I said to her, I said, Mom, when you're gone, how will I find you? And she, in her way, she turned to me and she said, well, I don't know, I'll be gone. So my mom, and I said, Mom, I know you're going to be gone physically, but I'm going to need you. I'm going to need to connect with you because I will always need my mommy. And you paused for a bit, and we were silent. And then you turned to me and you said, I will be wherever you want me to be. I'm holding you to that, Mom. I love you to the moon and back 1,000,000 billion times.
Tough to follow. A lot of the same themes, but also a nice part about speaking for Gramsci, as we called her, is that she spoke very clearly for herself. She was very unafraid to say the uncomfortable things. So I'll share another one. And there are expletives, so nice part. No young children. But she was big on taking my brother and I to events of culture, so museums and movies. And she took us to an old-time movie, and my brother pulled his phone out. She leaned over, put that fucking thing away. But again, as the rabbi mentioned with the extremes, she had this extreme of being able to be kind of callous and speak plainly and sometimes say something uncomfortable, but was very tender. Very, very tender. And for those that she loved, she was extremely caring and sweet. And to me, their home was the home in the villages with the loft. My brother and I would stay up in the loft on a couch. We would sleep there. And she would lie down, and my mom has a penchant for being scratched at all times, and I've honorably inherited that. So my grandmother would lie there, and we'd talk, and she would scratch my arm very slowly and softly, and my grandpa would look over jealously, Nate is in nirvana. But we would talk for a long time, and that carried through to even when I didn't live locally anymore. I would call her and we would speak for a long time, even when she didn't have that much to talk about. She would say her head was vermished and had to be taped back on with duct tape and screws, but she loved to talk because she loved family. Family was the most important thing to her, and I think everybody felt that. Katz, you're definitely part of the family now. If you're crying at my grandmother's funeral. But her, family extended beyond just those related by blood, and I think that's something that we can all carry on for her, is to try to be non-judgmental and greet other people with compassion and love, even when we might be angry at them. But I will miss her dearly. She was very important to all of us, and it's hard to believe that she's gone. But in, saying goodbye to her, I think the right thing to also do is to say thank you to my mom and to Lisa for everything that you did. I know it was not easy. And for 3 years, you guys were there every beck and call. And she did cause problems. I mean, she smoked cigarettes in a retirement home. There's signs with oxygen, on every door as you pass. So you guys had your work cut out for you. But you did it for her. And through that, we had extra time with her. So thank you.
I didn't have anything prepared, so just be nice, short and sweet. Start off with the phone stories, one of our favorites. Definitely. I mean, who says put that fucking thing away to a 10-year-old? Only Gramsci would. But I'll just touch on one of the last real times I spent with her. Drove up, I took her out to dinner to a nice restaurant, and it was just the two of us. It was super nice, and we just talked. I mean, I think she may have gotten a bread plate, and I got a 16-ounce ribeye, came out on a cutting board. I got cheesy bread that I'm eating all to myself, and she's just having wine and bread, and I think she was just having the time of her life watching me eat. I mean, it just shows who she is. Like, she saw me happy just with her alone, just eating all I could, and she was just made her the happiest in the world, and that's just who she was. She loved to see other people happy. I mean, the waiter was coming over, and we had to be his favorite table he had all night. I mean, he sent his manager over because he had to have thought she was just the funniest lady. She's cute, she's cursing up a storm, and she's just watching her grandson eat an ungodly amount of food. He's like, I got to see this for myself. So just who she was. I mean, she made me happy, taking me out. She made the waiter happy. I mean, easing his load, I'm sure, of other awful tables that he had to deal with. And she made the manager happy, seeing, oh, they chose our restaurant. She's having a good time. She's drinking wine. I mean, what more could she want in this world? She's a great woman. She was a great woman. She raised 2 great daughters, and they imparted a lot of love into their family, and I hope it's something me and my brother, Lily and Talia, will pass down to future generations. And we have her to thank for that. Just the endless support, love, and care was really all we could ask for and what we depended on her for. And she's just a great light in our life, and everyone who she met, whether it's a waiter or a random passerby on the street. So definitely going to miss her dearly, and she would appreciate all of you being here today.
Thank you all. Those were worth listening to. We're going to do the Kel Mali Racham, the traditional Kel Mali Rachamim. We're also going to do the tradition of tearing the clothing in a sign of mourning with a blessing. I do have to say that, Max, you just mentioned about passing it on to the next generation. Hurry up. And finally, I recently went to the doctor, and I was complaining about hearing loss. And he told me, can't fix it. But you have insurance, job insurance as a rabbi for hearing loss. I'm thinking now, after these eulogies, it may be part of my job not to be listening to certain things. Okay. Please rise for the Kel Mali Rachamim. Do it in Hebrew and then English. Ele mole rachamim, shoicheine mereimim, hametzei menucha nechayna, al kanfei hashchina, b'malois hakedoshim u'te'oirim, כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים אס נשמס נחבה סידני שלחה לעולמו בעבור שנוד וצדוקו ביד אסקורס נשמוסו בגן עדן תהי מנוחסו לכן בעל הרחמים יסתירהו בסייסר כנפיו לעולמים ויצרור בצרור החיים אס נשמסו אדוני הוא נחלוסו ושנוח על משכבו בשלום ונאמר אמן. O God, full of compassion, who dwells on high, grant true rest upon the wings of the Shekhinah, the divine presence, in the exalted spheres of the holy and pure, who shine as the resplendence of the firmament to the soul of Nacha, the daughter of Sydney, who has gone to her supernal world. May her place of rest be in paradise. Therefore may the All-Merciful One shelter her with the cover of his wings forever, and bind her soul in the bond of life. The Lord is her heritage. May she rest in her resting place in peace, and let us say Amen. Amen. We'll ask the daughters to come up. We'll do the traditional blessing and the rendering of the garment. As a sign of mourning, we wear a garment, like a scarf, and as a sign of the deep sense of pain, we tear the garment with our actual hand. We start with the knife here, the knife. Start off with the knife.
Left.
For any other family member, we do the right side. For parents, we do the left side. The left side is the side of the heart to show an extra sense of grievance. To say together the blessing, and after we say together the blessing, everybody answers amen, then we're going to pull down. Baruch. God Almighty, the true judge.
There are 12 bears in this room. I'd like you to get your coats immediately, and then we're going to line you up for your casket to reveal the gift. Those of you who are pallbearers, I'd like you to step up the aisle and we're going to bring the casket to you. Pallbearers, step up the aisle, please. Mr. Birch will take you to line up. Pallbearers up the aisle, please. I'd like you to get your colors. Family members, please, I'd like you to get your colors. If it's not one of yours, I'll ask you to say All right, friends, I need you to clear the aisleway. We're going to bring the casket through here, please. Members of the family, I'm going to have you follow behind the casket. You're going to go directly out to your vehicle. Members of the family will follow behind Rabbi, please. Friends, for the rest of you, those who are going on with us to the cemetery, I remind you when you go to your vehicle and start it, you must be